We must find the human homeworld, First Claw Crerome said. This is our top priority for this mission, astronauts. Nothing is more important. Everything depends on our success. He paced up and down the neat rows of green, literally and figuratively. Astronauts, his foot claws clicking on the human bone floor. Oh, cult lords save us. He thought, this bunch is even younger than the last. Some of these T-spawn had mere tiny buds in place of their upper tusks, for crying out loud. They couldn't be more than 3,000 swamp cycles old, maybe 3,200 at the most. Everything depends on our success, his voice boomed, and you will succeed, even though dozens of expeditions before you have failed. Do you know why? He made a theatrical pause. Because this time, I'll be going with you. My days as an instructor are over, and I'm sick and tired of losing perfectly good teeth spawn that used to be my cadets to the hostile void of space. This time I'll make sure, personally, that the job is done right for the glory of our cult lords. For the glory of the cult lords, the bunch echoed loudly. Now, he stopped his pacing and stared at a young, wart-faced, third-class tusk whose eye stalks trembled in fear. Let's see what they teach you in the Space Academy these days. Third Tusk, why do we need to find the human homeworld? A.B. Because of the famine, Sir Claw. A very generic answer, Tusk. The food shortage is because the humans are... Because the humans are, Crerome mocked the hapless tooth spawn. What does that even mean? Anyone wants to explain this clawless whelp why our civilization is starving. I can do that, First Claw, a confident voice from the third row said. Now that was more like it. This second tooth clearly had some experience. A volunteer, probably a very rare treat indeed. The vast majority of astronauts were obviously gang-pressed. Go on, second tooth. Yes, sir. After thousands of years of selective breeding, the human genetic stock grows thin. Inbreeding is decimating the human population. Entire farms are closing down because they can't breed humans at all anymore, at least not healthy ones. I hear they have to supplement by catching wild humans in the cities. Good answer, second tooth, but don't fall prey to rumors, Crerome admonished. We don't eat wild humans, we exterminate them and their nests on sight. They're filthy and carry diseases. Everyone knew that messing with wild human meat was dangerous. That's how you contracted blood fever or pop. Besides, wild humans were stringy and tasted bitter. Every spawnling was taught a cycle or two after swimming out of the birth swamp. If the food speaks to you, call in grown-up immediately. It's trying to trick you. Proper domesticated food. Humans had their vocal cords surgically removed as pups. Any farm manager caught mixing up domesticated and wild human flesh will surely be brought before the cult lords for judgment and damnation. Now, who can tell me how we're going to find the human homeworld, other than the second tooth, who obviously knows the answer? Sir, a young first tusk carefully ventured. I can try if you permit. Go ahead, Tusk. Eternal praise and gratitude to you, Sir Claw. The tooth spawn bowed and scraped. When I was but a spawnling, my broodmaster always said that humans came to the world thousands of years ago on spaceships of their own, as hard as it is to believe, in an ancient era before they became our almost exclusive food source. These spaceships, so he said, were preserved in the deepest catacombs of the Black Palace. When the cult lords led us to the technological revolution, the newly minted Silicon Masters examined the ancient wrecks and managed to retrieve very partial and corrupted data on the location of the human homeworld. That was about 2,000 swamp cycles ago. That is all correct. Good job, First Tusk. At least some of you have a bit of brains between your auditory spines. Now, let me tell you why this mission is so important. You already know that the famine had devastated many broods for many years and swamp cycles now. The inbred humans are hopeless. The cult lords have decreed many experiments, but so far none had succeeded. Gene therapy didn't work. Wild humans are of the same genetic stock, so breeding them with domesticated humans hadn't worked either. Experiments with vat-grown human meat are going too slowly to save us in time, and it removes the thrill of the kill. So many would say it's worse than dying off in any case. The astronauts nodded their eye stalks grimly. They knew all about that. They got used to frozen human meat as part of their training. Live humans weren't permitted on spaceships because the life support systems would get overstressed. But if we find the human homeworld, the source of the plentiful, tender, fatty meat that had allowed our ancestors to stop relying on hunting wild beasts and ensured our great civilization, led by the great and infallible cult lords, could expand. Stocks of millions upon millions of soft, weak, warm, meaty humans, neither touched by inbreeding nor infected by illnesses that can affect teeth spawn. Imagine an entire planet full of humans. If a handful of spaceships jump-started teeth-spawn civilization and allowed us to become the masters of the planet, then a planet full of them will let us become the masters of the galaxies. This small space program would become as nothing before the great. Fleets that our blessed and merciful cult lords would assemble. Nothing would stand before us forever and evermore. He stopped to take a ragged breath. Sometimes, when he got going, he overdid it a little bit, but that was fine. He could see that the idea touched something in the ranks of teeth spawn. The yellow islets on the ends of the gently swaying stalks were dilated with ecstasy. You brought them up, Crarom, you old beast, he thought to himself. Now it's time to crash them back down to reality. This group, the group that will find the human homeworld, will be the 72nd to ascend to space, since the cult lords have decreed the establishment of the space program. This was a good way to sift out the smart ones from the chaff. He examined his astronauts carefully. Some remained swaying in a happy trance, but a few, maybe 1 in 5, got the implications and immediately sobered up, their eye stalks stiffening. I'm disappointed that so few of you understand the implications of my words just now. It's true indeed that the very best of us have perished in the first wave, and all that's left now is you, utter trash. The cult lords must be disparate. He stopped the heretical thought before it could fully form. The cult lords were never wrong. Doubting that fact was a fast ticket into the meat processing plants as the product. With the famine kicking into high gear, the cult enforcers were looking for more and more flimsy excuses to send wicked tooth spawn onto the dinner plates of their betters. One less mouth to feed, one more meal, guaranteed to a more deserving member of cult society. 71 expeditions to the human homeworld. None were ever heard from again. They always disappear without a trace. Well, sometimes we do get brief, but confused reports. He clicked a claw on a wall panel and a monitor lit up and started playing a video. This, my dear cannon fodder, had been received from the 6th expedition right before loss of contact. Confused, flashing images showing spaceship corridors and lots of tooth spawn screaming. The footage was only a few seconds long. This is from the 33rd expedition. A tooth spawn, clearly young, although not as young as some of the ones watching, appeared on the screen. It was barely visible in the dim light, and its face was very close to the camera. It was clearly filming itself, using a handheld device. Oh, cult lords preserve us. It's coming for me. The tooth spawn on the screen sobbed and shuddered. A strange, high-pitched buzzing sound, somewhat like the screams of dying grubs, was getting louder in the background as the video played out. Save me, merciful cult lords. Save me. Ye abruptly cut off. Makes an impression on you, doesn't it? Crarom said. There wasn't even a click of mandibles as all the astronauts looked shocked. They don't talk about it at the Academy. It's a cult secret. You're only allowed to view it right before launch time. Now for the message from the 59th expedition. This one was text only. No video, no sound. The screen now displayed a simple text message. Timestamp. Launch 15 swamp cycles. No sign of the Human Homeworld in Candidate System 554. At first, it appeared completely barren and lifeless, but for the past 2 swamp cycles, something had been stalking us. We only get the occasional radar reflection, just enough to tell us there's something huge out there, but it's never enough to give us an exact location, shape, or other details. When we first spotted it, we used radar Doppler effect to estimate the distance at around 30 cleeps. But last time it happened, just a half swamp cycle ago, the reading said 15. The crew is getting jumpy. Next time radar spots it, we'll try to take a visual image and we'll update you. Expedition Leader First Claw Sravkicked out. Of course, we didn't get any update after that, nor any other sign that they're alive, Karom said. Here's the final one. From the 71st expedition. No video, no sound. Only a single frame got through this time. The screen lit up yet again. It showed the bridge of a ship with a panicked-looking teeth-spawn crew frozen in the middle of bustling activity. And on one monitor in the corner, barely visible on the screen, on a screen, a chilling image that curdled the blood sap of every tooth spawn watching, incredulous, in the room. A black background of stars and a single oily deformed tentacle, like that of an unfathomable sea creature, extending toward the camera. Yeah, the first claw. Let the image speak for itself. We've taken to calling it the Kraken since then. It, Sir Claw? A trembling astronaut asked. Yes, Third Tusk. It. The alien. The monster. The Kraken. The malevolent, slimy, tentacled thing that hunts our kind in the eternal night. We don't know if it's just one or if it's an entire alien race. All we know is that the cult lords, blessed be their holy mandibles, invested tremendous efforts and resources into this space program, and so far this mysterious enemy had made it all go to waste. Well, no more, I say, brave teeth spawn. We put an end to the failure and disgrace of the space program today. The ship we'll be crewing is the most advanced we've produced yet. Its communication systems the most sophisticated. Its weapons the most sophisticated. Its weapons the most potent. And me, the expedition leader, the most experienced out of them all. I swear in the cult lord's name that we'll defeat the Kraken and find the human source, food our grubs and spawnlings are waiting for. The other teeth spawn applauded loudly by clicking their teeth and mandibles together. They boarded the ship, took their positions, and launched shortly thereafter. Hey, Monroe, wake the hell up. Bill tossed the stub of his cigar at Monroe's head and immediately lit up a new one. Even though he was on his 3rd lung transplant, he didn't want to quit smoking cigars. He enjoyed every minute of it. So what if some people found it disgusting? They'll cope. So what if regulations didn't allow smoking on the job or on a spaceship? His superiors would never know. So what if it gave you cancer? Modern medicine could handle that easily. Every problem had a reasonable solution. Wow, what? Who? Monroe jerked awake. Wake up. We have a scanner hit. I've turned stealth mode on already. Do your job and identify it. You don't have to be an a-hole about it, Bill, Monroe said, putting his seat in an upward position and swiveling toward the sensors console. We've been patrolling this butt end of nowhere for almost a week. Don't you tell me to knock it off when we finally find something interesting to do? So, what about that ship? Ah, Monroe said, it's the flesh-eating bastards. A few years ago, a freighter had stumbled on a primitive spaceship from some yet undiscovered alien race. The ship tried to attack without provocation, so the freighter's fighter escort blew it up. They later brought what remains they could gather to Tau Ceti, where Navy analysts tried to gather as much information about this new and seemingly aggressive alien species as they could. That's when they discovered the remains of unmistakably human flesh. It was stored sliced up in a cooled container that survived the blast. At first, the mystery had baffled the experts, and the media couldn't stop talking about it for months. Eventually, some historian had dug up an ancient archive from the pre-FDL spaceflight era and found out an independent, privately owned generation ship had set on a journey toward that general region of space and wasn't heard from since. Now it appeared that its fate was self-explanatory. Human patrols have encountered many of the alien ships since then and had orders to blow them up on sight. Well, that and a certain other order. Scanners show it's a bit better armed this time, but I don't see anything that can get through our shields. Are we boarding? Monroe nodded toward the power armor hanging on the far wall of the cabin, the huge servomotors on its shoulders glistening with fresh oil. Or do you want me to just blow them up? Blow them up. Got it. Ready to activate jamming when we get in range. The patrol ship Haymaker turned toward its quarry, its plasma gun ports glistening menacingly in the faint sunlight. As it swung around, the light illuminated the painting on the side that identified it as part of the 11th Xenos Busters fleet. It was a cartoon alien with a huge, toothy maw, a single red eye, and slimy tentacles waving around it with a red crosshair painted over it. "Oh, Monroe, try to fix its vector before you destroy it," Bill said. "We need to trace its origin. Orders." "I know," Monroe nodded gravely. "We must find the Human Homeworld.